across the last year, millions of people have suddenly found themselves working remotely for the first time ever. And that arrangement has meant that they can suddenly choose where they want to live. Historically, people have been sort of locked into whatever city their employer operates out of. But suddenly, all these people can choose a place based on what fits their lifestyle. And so, MakeMyMove is a simple online marketplace that connects remote workers to communities that are trying to recruit them. So, for the communities, it kind of feels like a retail economic development activity. So, in addition to recruiting companies, they can recruit these individual workers that bring themselves, their jobs, and so they're offering a lot of tangible incentives to get them to move. Anywhere from $10,000 or $15,000 of cash to free land, a bunch of amenities in the local communities. We started 3 years ago as a way to help Indiana companies recruit people from out of state. So that our core tech platform essentially finds people that have regional affinities. We use big data and targeted marketing to identify folks that might want to move to a new city. And so the MakeMyMove rollout really was sort of a national rollout of the platform we built for Indiana. Really, the pandemic made this concept a reality. Remote work preceded the pandemic. There were 5 million remote workers before it hit, but it certainly accelerated a longstanding trend. Today, there are over 30 million people that work remote full time that we expect to continue to do so. So we set up the site in December, so it's very new, a few months under our belt, but we've really been blown away by the interest from, we've seen thousands of remote workers come across our doorstep, looking for help finding their next home. And from communities, we've seen dozens of communities spring up, starting to offer some of these incentives and are really getting serious about attracting remote workers. So let's say I'm a software engineer that works in Silicon Valley today, and I've decided, and I've had enough. I can't stand the commute. It's too expensive. So I'd go to MakeMyMove.com. I can shop for communities. There's over 40 of these communities on the site right now, and learn more about them, what life is like in the area, what incentives that they're offering. So I can find and compare these communities, but when I'm ready to make a move, I can apply for the incentives right there online. And so, our job is to make it really easy to find and claim these offers, and then we have a team of folks that can help answer questions or make sure that I can redeem that incentive once I actually move. One of the most important things about this national trend is that it's really kind of a revolution in personal preference. People can choose their home based on whatever they value. And what we're finding is that a lot of people are looking for a place that's more affordable. A lot of folks are looking for sort of a better connection to the outdoors. Many are looking for more land. Maybe they want to, spread out a little bit. What we're finding is that places like Texas have a lot of these amenities altogether. So, if you look at, across the state, obviously you have world-class cities in Dallas and Houston and San Antonio, great places to live, cosmopolitan places to live. When you're comparing it to, coastal cities where a lot of these people are moving from, it is more affordable, but obviously there's a lot of land available. And so, I think for a lot of reasons, people are choosing to move to Texas. And this, again, was a trend that preceded the pandemic. I mean, if you look at the census data that came out last year, Texas has been eating California and New York's lunch for a while now, but I think what we're finding is that it's even more attractive as a place for remote workers to come, and build new homestead. We talked to over 1,000 people nationwide, so these were folks that they were introduced to the concept of remote work. One of the things I found most fascinating is just that, I think a lot of folks are wondering whether this is sort of a temporary trend with the pandemic. But what we're finding is strong evidence that this is the new normal. So we had over 50% of the respondents said that they would rather quit their job than go back to an office. And it becomes even more pronounced when you look at younger generations. So close to 70% of people under 40 said that they would rather leave their job than go back to an office. We find that they report being more productive and improve their emotional well-being as it pertains to their job. So, I think from the remote worker standpoint, they've been introduced to the concept and they really like it. And I think we're really starting to see companies adapt to that the needs of their workforce. Even just today, LinkedIn announced that all of their 16,000 employees are able to work remotely kind of in perpetuity. And so, we see more and more of these companies sort of making these announcements. And I think, ongoing, that's going to mean that it's a huge opportunity for communities that want to start recruiting these workers. I think it's going to be a talent-driven continuing trend. I mean, when you find that 70% of the most sought-after workforce would rather quit than come back to the office, it's going to force companies to adapt. Even big companies like Google and Apple, initially said no, everyone's going to come back to the office, and their workers revolted, and they're revising those plans as a result. And so, if you think about how nice the offices are at Apple and Google, and even they can't get all their people to come back, I think this is something that the workers are going to demand, and companies are going to have to adapt to that new reality.